Well, it is for me. It's good evening. Hi from Germany. We're a German PropTech startup based south of Frankfurt. I'm agent, co-founder, and CEO of Framence. First of all, thanks to Shadow Ventures for having us. I'll hopefully entertain you guys over the next couple of minutes about what we're doing with Framence and how we're hopefully changing the world when it comes to digitalizing assets and buildings. A brief history of myself. I've been in the area in the domain of real estate as well as tech for around 10 years. Previously, I've been running software companies for workplace management, facilities management. And during that time, we kept on coming over or experiencing the problem of having decent documentation of assets, having all the information readily in place. And that's what led us to starting Framence. I'm pretty certain all you guys are familiar with Google Street View, happily using it to familiarize with places, locations you haven't been to before. And now imagine having something like that for your buildings and your technical installations, but also augmented with all the information, all the asset information you would ever have on that assets in your various different IT systems and databases. So whenever something comes up, instead of having to go on site, you can access all the information through your web browser, or even add information to it or make comments where needs be. And that's basically what we've done with Framence. We're creating photorealistic digital twins of assets and are augmenting them with all the further information you might have. Well, some of you might say, well, there's Leica, there's Trimble, and the likes out there using laser scanners. Very, very true. But the difference is we're using normal photos, meaning we can do that at around 10% of the costs, or even more so, our customers can do all that themselves. No need for specialists or external service providers. So how we're doing this is actually quite simple. We're using mathematics and AI to turn normal photos taken by DSLRs, drones, cell phones, you name it, anything you can find off the shelf, and turn that into centimeter, depending on the image quality, even millimeter accurate, photorealistic 3D models of your assets. All the user has to do is pretty much upload the photos onto the server, either on-prem or in the cloud, you define it, and the software then does the rest for the user. The reason we're using photos is quite simple and actually shown quite significantly in there. First of all, photos are very, very quick to take. Photos have yielded a very, very high level of detail. And this example on the slide shows you on the left-hand side the model that one of our partners did in Hungary using a laser scanner. It took about 4 weeks of post-processing until the model was like that. The photo actually took us about 3 or 4 minutes, uploaded, and we have the same level of detail, or we have a much higher level of detail, much, much less effort. And in terms of quality and in terms of accuracy, it actually is higher than the model you see on the left. But Framence is actually more than pretty images, or we want to do more than pretty images. The idea is not having a cool looking image or cool looking photos of your assets. The idea is to combine that with all the information you already have using standard interfaces, using API to connect to all the already existing third-party systems, whether it's your ERP, whether it's your CAFM, whether it's some sort of building management system, whether it's IoT, whether it's BIM models, whether it's 2D floor plans. All the information you already have stored in different systems suddenly becomes accessible via one single, very, very easy to use and very easy to understand user interface. And of course, the idea is that's slightly different for us is we're not aiming on storing everything in the same platform. We're more linking everything, referencing everything, makes it, of course, much easier to implement, makes it much quicker to implement, and also avoids the topics of cybersecurity, avoids the topics of data storage, avoids the topics of data redundancies, and so on and so forth. And when you do all that, when you upload that, link everything, you come to something like that. Basically, a photo that has all the necessary information localized in it, just like Street View. It gives you an impression of what the situation actually looks like. You can navigate through the different images. You can navigate through your models, look at the different points of information, points of interest for you. You can add 3D objects and import them as IFCs if needs be. You can take measurements by simply clicking on 2 different pixels in the photo. You can bring in sensor data. You can even bring in additional information such as reports, such as master data, such as ticketing systems, or even bring in a complete different new layer of photos to show hidden information that's somewhere hidden underneath the floor, but just bring in sort of another photo level to show that kind of information. And as I said, if needs be, we can turn photos into 3D objects, sort of a photo to BIM approach. So when you actually need to do some sort of reconstruction, you can use the photo as the as-built and create an AEC from that. Talking about BIM, this is actually from one of our customers in Switzerland. They're using our software to document their new construction project, basically from the ground pipes to lateral operations. And what they're doing is they're constantly superimposing the as planned BIM onto the photos, onto the documentation of the construction site to find deviations, to look for deviations. And I can tell you they've actually saved quite a significant amount of money by finding problems early, facade not being exactly as it was meant to be. So those kind of problems that come up during construction, they are able to find very, very early and take necessary actions to not run into those problems. Since all the photos are not only geometrically located, but also chronologically located, we can always go back in time. So we need to find out how was a certain situation like, or even things like where are my ground pipes? One of those typical examples, you can pretty much only trust your plans at the moment because there's no way of finding out where they exactly are. With Framence, you simply jump back in time and see what it was like when during the construction, where exactly is your ground pipes, stuff like that. Then, of course, it's used for documenting high complex tech installations. That's a food processing plant, for example, something you can never really document, something that you can never really model to that level of detail without going through extreme efforts. In that case, the customer is basically using it as a remote assistance tool for their on-site crews, where the specialists back in the back office, supporting them with necessary information, supporting them with all they might need, even superimposing manuals, little videos, building the basis for later AR applications where they superimpose the points of information into the real life. So they're using that for very, very complex technical documentation measures to make life easier for less skilled workers they have on site. So where are we at the moment? We're founded just over a year ago, 14, 15 months now. Though having said that, software development started well before that. I'd say the first ideas came up in roughly 2017, and we've been taking ever since. Nowadays, we've got 10 staff. It's 2 founders, my dad and myself, an architect, sales guys, and that kind of thing. A bunch of specialists we've been working together with for somewhere between 5 to 25 years or so. So we've got a very, very high skilled, very, very trustworthy team we've known for quite a while. Last year, or beginning of this year, we've carried out around 35 POCs with mainly MNCs. We have entered development partnerships with the German chemical BASF and the Swiss pharmaceutical Hoffmann La Roche. They're basically coming and helping out with new ideas, trialing things for us, cross-checking market fit and stuff like that, just to make sure our ideas actually work. Funnily enough, COVID does actually help us quite a bit. With travel restrictions being in place, staff experience and the need to have that kind of information we're supplying in their browser, irrespective of where they currently are. So this sort of drives the need for such a twin. And even in a post-COVID era, we're hoping for that to be very, very shortly. This notion towards mobile work, home office will of course not vanish. It'll become ever more increasing. So while we have the know-how, the technology, and an awesome product, we're looking for partners to help us foster and help us finance our international growth. Thanks for your attention, and I'm here for questions.